Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Today we're speaking with Mariquita. How do you say your last name again? I'm so sorry.
Solis.
Solis. Okay. COVID brain. That's my excuse. Mariquita is a vegan expert, and she's here to tell us all about what she does and how she does it and why she does it. So go ahead, Mariquita. Tell us all about you.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks for having me. Well, I'm a vegan empowerment coach. I see a lot of vegans that are struggling. They really are angry at other people that don't want to become vegan immediately or don't understand veganism. And so there's a lot of hatred out there for people that aren't vegans. And so I work with vegans to live in peacefulness with everyone and to really be effective communicators. If we want to share the vegan message, to share it in a way that is best received and for effective advocacy for themselves, like for the inner peace of themselves and powerfulness, and for the planet as well. And so that's what I work with people to achieve, that mindset of confidence and peace and resilience and acceptance of life.
That's really powerful, and I can see how that when somebody's passionate about something, they want to just share it with everybody, and it's really hard for them to accept that not everybody's the same place in the path of life that they are on, and how it could affect you as a human being trying to carry that message, but meeting resistance with it all the time. So how did you get started? How did you become a vegan? What motivated you to go there?
Well, I became vegetarian in 95. I watched Meet Your Meat. It was narrated by Alec Baldwin. It was 3 minutes, and I'll never forget it breaks my heart. I had no idea what was going on in the factory farms, and just to see animals. Horrible. Yeah, just the graphic video, terrible. So I became vegetarian. And then I guess as I explored more and kind of was on my journey, I went vegan and I faltered, went back to vegetarian and then vegan. So, and now I'm fully vegan and I feel more aligned in my life for the animals, the planet, for myself. Yeah, I really stepped into vegan empowerment. And then also, as I studied life coaching and feminine empowerment, also feminine wisdom and coaching with the feminine energy, I thought this is very applicable to vegans, because the feminine energy is always about allowing and discovery. And so we really need, when we're speaking to people, we need to discover and to listen. And so that's very applicable here in my coaching programs. I use that method of just the gracefulness of it.
Yes, I like that. The gracefulness of the exchange, helping rather than beating somebody up.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Oh, excuse me. No, it usually doesn't. So who's your ideal Who's your ideal client, would you say?
Well, my ideal client is someone who's struggling, doesn't know how to get away from this perfectionism, and these has a lot of limiting beliefs and like, I'm not doing enough, and it's never going to be good enough. And so that goes back to them not believing in themselves. But they also have an open mind, and they're willing to hear the new story about themselves, which is the old story is I'm not doing enough and I'm not going to change the world. And the new story is I am enough, I'm doing enough, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm doing it with gracefulness and peace. So that's my ideal client. It's beautiful to work with them.
So how would they identify themselves? I mean,
Well, I think if they're sitting at home, not able to take action, if they're really in a depressed state and just feeling bad about themselves, that's one way. If you're a vegan feeling bad about what how you're communicating, you feel like you're not making an impact on this world. If you're sad and you can't sleep at night, those are good identifiers.
would you say veganism is, I'm not sure I want to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it. Is it more like a religion in terms of things that people adhere to, and not as religion in a good or bad sense, but just as a set of doctrines that people adhere to mostly religions try to help people come to terms with how they live in the world, in my opinion. And it seems like veganism is a way of expressing your desire to live a sustainable life with the planet and the animals, and have an impact that way. Am I totally off base? Am I like kidding around the edges? I don't know. Let's hear what you have to say.
I think for me, it ties into spirituality.
Yes.
Because I felt like the more awakened I became, and this is only me, that I am not able to look at another living being as someone that's lesser than me and that doesn't have the same rights as I do, and that wants to have the experience of life and in the fullest way possible. And for me to take that away or be any part of that, it goes against who I am inside. And so that's living in alignment with that, with my beliefs. And I know there's a lot of vegans that are not spiritual. A lot of them hate God, or who they think is God. They say, if there's a God, then this wouldn't be happening. So, I mean, I'm sure you could get many different opinions on that. But for me, it is a spiritual experience because it's a way of doing. So I'm not perfect. There are no perfect vegans, and I'm not perfect. I do the best I can not to harm others. So
all we can do is the
yeah,
best.
that's all we can do. And that's all I ask from any one of my clients, is to do the best you can every day. And that changes all the time.
Mm-hmm. So that really does kind of tie into, I use religion and spirituality kind of interchangeably, which is probably really wrong. I think religion, the word, is very charged a lot of times, whereas spirituality is more inclusive. So I will try to be more inclusive.
Oh, good.
So, what does working with you look like? Let's ask that.
Well, we look at limiting beliefs. What are them? I mean, a lot of times I work with women, and it's not just women, but the shame-based stories that we make about ourselves control our lives. So when we look at these shame-based stories that aren't related to us, and they might be skills that need to be developed, but let's just say maybe you're an artist, and so maybe you didn't sell anything at the art show, and that doesn't mean you're a bad artist. It doesn't mean you suck. What it means is, let's try a different route. Maybe those weren't the right people. That wasn't the right audience, right? It's not about you and your character. So that's what we look at. What are these limiting beliefs? What are these shame-based meanings that are stopping my clients from moving forward? And like one of them could be, I'm invisible, or no one wants to hear me belief that's running. How are you going to be an activist if you're starting off, or advocating for animals, if you're starting off with the belief, no one wants to hear me and my voice isn't powerful? So we have to start at the base level, starting with power, right? Getting up and saying, hey, I have a powerful voice. It's gentle and it's kind, but it's also very confident and strong. And I'm going to use that voice today. So we start out from that and we let go of those other beliefs. We acknowledge them, but they're not serving our lives. So that's how we move forward. And also having tangible goals. Maybe some of my clients are working on videos and activist videos, just telling about lives of animals and how, the commonalities that we have. So she's working, like I have specifically one that is working on putting out a certain number of videos every month. And I work with her and see what's holding her back, or if there's anything holding her back, moving her forward and in these tangible outcomes.
It's interesting. I've long thought, being a person who's a homesteader as well as the other things that I do, and I have butchered my own animals, and I've long believed that if people had to harvest animals themselves, not to mention what goes on in the factories. I've seen the videos too, and I get inspired to eat mostly plant-based things because that's just horrific. But if people had to butcher their own animals, they would eat less meat than they do. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And to raise the animal and know the animal that you're butchering, that's the other side of it.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. You're right. And you're exactly right on there. And I think about the workers in the factory farms, the trauma that they have. If that's repeated, it's just devastating to people, to their inner spirit.
I think people get a lot of adrenochrome in the meat that they eat also, because these animals are run through in a line. They see the animal in front of them dying before it's their turn. And your adrenochrome is triggered in your body as a fear-based hormone, and it does hit the meat, and we do ingest it if we eat meat. It's really interesting. And as the progression of the processing of animals for food in our country has gone on, and it's become more cruel, really, in the way that it's handled, the difference in the quality of the meat has declined significantly. Like, I have butchered animals that I've raised myself, and that meat, and I never butcher them in front of other animals. It's just like, this is a private thing, and I'm going to do it over here where everybody else isn't going to be aware of it. Excuse me. So in that method, the meat has a different taste than the meat that you buy in the store, which is also, I'm older. I remember what food tasted like. I've always been part of a family that cooked instead of buying processed stuff, which just takes that animal product a little bit further down the scale of not healthy. So what do you, in terms of working with people, do you do one-on-one coaching? Do you do group coaching? How does all that look? Do you have self-paced classes?
Yeah, I have one-on-one coaching and group coaching. I'm working on self-paced right now, but I really enjoy the group coaching, just that feeling of the group and seeing everyone support themselves. So Yeah, I kind of tend to think sometimes I'm just going to do group, but then also I have a wonderful time with my one-on-one clients that are really ready to commit. So those are the ones that they're really inspiring to me, my one-on-ones also. So yeah, but I really can relate to what you were saying about a minute ago about the meat and the difference in it, because of the processed foods, and yes, it's a whole nother story. So
It's even questionable whether you're getting the meat that you think you're getting anymore.
right, that's true. Yeah, I just recently became whole food plant-based. So that's another journey I'm on, really trying to eat living foods and the foods that really are for my body. And but it's a journey, because these foods and the processed foods and the foods that aren't natural are, they have so many additives that make us addicted. You know, we see like the ice cream and like, oh my gosh, I gotta get some now. You know, the chemicals are just raging for that ice cream, right, in our brain, trying to get us to go get it. And so, I mean, it's a steady journey of change and being gentle with myself, just like everyone else on their own journey
Mhm.
when it's their time.
Heard a while back from some other intuitives out there that said, when you grow your own food, and the woman who said this is a scientist. She's an engineer, and she's worked with a gentleman who was doing a lot of plant-based experiments. But her supposition was that when you grow your own food, the act of caring for that food causes that food to produce the exact things that your body needs. It's like blessing food. It changes the chemistry of the food to be what you need. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's beautiful and it makes so much sense. And when we're all energy, and then we a lot of times we don't think about that energy flow and what we're giving and what we're getting, and you know what if we're really in gratitude. And it's just I forget about the connection to everything. I mean, even like the speaker that's sitting here next to me, right? That my little speaker here. How many people had to come together to make that speaker? At the whole process of it, right? And it's such a spiritual experience. So yes, the connection between foods that you eat and everything around us. And once we open our eyes and really acknowledge it, I mean, that then we receive something even greater.
What's interesting about the connection, I just look around my office and it's like, wow, how many people's hands and what were their stories? Because every being, even the animals, they have a story. Something, they're all unique. They may look sort of similar, but every one of them is unique, and they all have a story. And I
Right.
love hearing people's stories.
Yes, I do too, right? There's so much wisdom to be learned. And like you're saying, just looking around and thinking about all the people and just the experiences and the stories that were that came together to make where you are what it is, and all that energy that is a gift, and now you're receiving from that gift.
Wow. That was really profound. I that's, every now and then you have a kind of a life-changing insight to something, and you just changed my perspective on the things that surround me. Thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Jill.
So when you're working with your clients, I'm mostly supposed to be talking about you. When you're working with your clients, do you and you're moving them towards a goal, is your goal just to help them to be at peace with where they're at in their journey, or is it more towards helping them to have a voice and an activism? Are you empowering activism? Are you empowering just living in peace with themselves?
Well, it depends on the client, right? Some are not ready to be activists, or activism can be so many different things. I mean, this could be a form of activism, right? Where I'm talking about veganism and sharing the knowledge. So it depends on what they need, right? If they have something tangible, like you're going to get out there. I mean, there will be something tangible, but it might not be like a protest or anything like that, or letter writing. It just depends on them. Maybe if it's come up with 10 things that you really love about yourself, and that might be very challenging for someone. We could take 3 weeks to get to that point. So, and how does that tie in with the animals? Maybe take another week and see how those 10 things that you love about yourself tie into the rest of this world, right? How do you feel about yourself relate to every living being on this planet? How are they affected, right? So we come up with the tangible, with the statements. So yeah, it depends on the person, what their needs are.
Interesting. So what do you think is the one biggest takeaway that you would want people listening to this podcast to walk away with?
Well, I think so often we've lost our connection to living beings. This planet, every blade of grass is beautiful, like you were saying, Jill. Every animal has a story, every blade of grass. And I think to honor that connection with all living beings is what I would really want people to sit in quiet and think about, and how your life can expand once you honor that connection to all forms of life. What shifts in your life, just to see what changes.
Very cool. Have you heard about breatharians?
No.
People that they survive mainly on just oxygen. They don't eat, they eat very little, if they eat at all. It's kind of an interesting concept.
Wow, I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So how do people get in touch with you if they want to work with you?
MariquitaSolis.com or MariquitaSolisCoaching@gmail.com. And I have a really great Facebook group, Empowered Vegans, Voices of Strength for Mother Earth, where I have a live stream on YouTube every week. And so I got a lot going on, and I would welcome them to be part of my community. Reach out to me for a free chat to see what's blocking you. And you don't have to be vegan. I love to coach all people, but if you are vegan and it's resonating, that's wonderful. I mean, I'm here for the world. So if it resonates, let's do it.
Very cool. And we'll make sure that we put those links in the description below so people can reach out to you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. It's been a blessing.
It has.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.